Okay, last time I wore this sweatshirt, I got 3,000 likes. So if we can replicate that again, I'm gonna wear this sweatshirt every time. And with that being said, I'm gonna walk you through step by step on how to find your sensitivity on controllers. So if you wanna learn some tips about controller sensitivity, stay tuned. 94% of people that watch my videos are not subscribed to my channel. So if you guys could hit that sub button for the one time, it would be greatly appreciated. Just so you guys can get a broader look about how this video is gonna pan out, the first thing we're gonna talk about is whether or not to use linear or exponential. The next thing I'm gonna bring up is the advanced look sensitivity. That's what you should determine first. And then next, you should determine your sensitivity for your edit and build mode. And then I'm gonna mention boosts in general, talk about the look dampening time, and then I'm gonna talk to you about your controller dead zones and when you should apply those to your settings. Now, I really kind of feel like I'm beating a dead horse when it comes to this topic because I feel like everyone talks about it. For the people that don't know the difference between linear and exponential, I'm gonna briefly explain them so you guys can get an understanding for what the difference is. Think of it in terms of a math class, which it kind of is. Linear curve literally means that no matter how much I move my analog stick, very little bit or a lot the whole way, it's going to be the same amount of drag or sensitivity applied to the screen no matter what. So no matter what direction I go in, it's going to be the same sensitivity every time, no matter how hard or fast I move my analog stick. When it comes to exponential, it is an exponential curve. Think of it like a math class. So the more pressure that is applied to the analog stick at a faster rate, the faster your sense is gonna move. So the slower it is, the slower it's gonna be able to move. Me personally, I prefer linear, and I know a lot of people and other pros play on linear as well. There are a couple that play exponential, but for the most part, I want to say that everyone's on linear. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some cons and pros to both, and I'm gonna quickly point them out. First things first, when it comes to your long distance AR aim, it's gonna be way better on exponential because you'll be able to track it way slower, because the slower you're gonna move your analog stick, the more easy it is gonna be for you to lock onto a target. Now, at a longer range, someone like a linear player will still be able to do that, but not at the same level. It's going to be a little harder. In my opinion, I still think that I can balance a long distance target just by dragging very, very slowly. As you can see, I'm kind of going fast and tracking fast, and then I can track really slow if I move my analog stick kind of slow. Now, this is different for every controller. I have a Microsoft Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. The analog sticks on these are very, very sensitive, and they're kind of good, and they're way, way different compared to a PS4 controller and even a normal Xbox controller. These scuff type controllers have very sensitive analog sticks, which allows you for more precise aim. This one was 180 bucks, and unless you actually want to spend the money on it, then you go ahead and send it. So like I said, that was one of the pros to exponential, but honestly, it's not that big of a difference between linear in my personal opinion. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is your SMG spray whenever you're trying to light up a target. It's a lot easier to track someone on linear than it is exponential. Now, it's not impossible to track on exponential, but it is more difficult than it is for a linear player. The reason why that is because it's when you're in a very tight situation in a box, for example, you have to flick your crosshair a lot. Now, if you're an exponential and if you flick your crosshair, it's going to be all over the place because the faster you do it, the more your sensitivity will turn. But if you're on linear, you'll be able to turn and you'll be able to just constantly follow and track him a lot easier when it comes to a box. Now, that's the pro to linear, and in my opinion, I think that that's way better because not only does it help with your SMG aim, but it also helps with your shotgun aim. Now, if you want to hit crazy flick shots, exponential will probably be better for you because you'll be able to throw your analog stick to the right or left side and it will be able to snap to a target. Now, if you have really good aim, exponential might be the way, but if you don't, linear might help you even more. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of opportunities in game to hit flick shots on players, but if you're a controller player, the reason why I'm not so concerned about flick shots is because I don't put myself into a flick shot situation. But it's very hard to hit a flick shot in general on controller. It's not honestly something that you want to tailor your play style to. So whenever you're on controller, in my personal opinion, I would shy away from flick shots. You know what I'm saying? I could turn around like this and I can hit someone in the head or whatnot while I'm building, and that's all you really need. What I do to turn around faster on controller is that I run and turn at the same time instead of just doing this, because this is a lot slower than doing this, because with controller movement you can move like this and turn, and it will allow you to rotate faster. In my opinion, I really think that's like a fact, but if you just do that simple concept while you're trying to turn around or someone's in your box, let's say someone's in my box and then they bust in my back wall right here. What I do is I run around and turn. And at the same time, I'll have more controls. Let's say they come in my box, so boom, they come in my box and I run and turn around like that way, and it'll allow me to rotate faster. Now, when it comes to your advanced look sensitivity, when it comes to vertical and horizontal speed, I personally recommend that you have this 5% higher than whatever your horizontal speed is. I would say at least 3 to 5% higher, maybe 6 if you're pushing. I think it's just better that way because I honestly barely even notice this difference, but I feel it to the point enough where it's gonna help me when it comes to in-game situations. I like to look down and up really fast because sometimes I'm in an intense fight and I need to do that. I find myself doing that more often than not, and with this little 5% boost that I'm adding, it kind of helps me. Now, a lot of people recommend to do the opposite. So when it comes to finding your own horizontal and vertical sense, what you do is you just place down a target. Now, it doesn't really have to have aim assist. If you want to try it with both, be my guest. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to use this rocket launcher here that I have spawned. And what you want to do is you want to just be able to feel comfortable just tracking this thing while you're moving left and right, and just make sure you're keeping your crosshair kind of in the center of it, and just practice going further away from it. And if you can kind of track this thing going left and right in a circle, let's say, then that's perfect. That's exactly what you want. Now, another thing you want to do is you want to practice edits in a box. Now, I noticed this helps a little bit with aim assist, but honestly, don't be afraid to turn off your aim assist completely like this and practice with this off, because that way you'll be able to get a better understanding about how your sense actually feels. That way, when you add aim assist to your sense, it's gonna make it 10 times stronger. The first thing I do is I come here and I equip a sentry. I put him to no shield and I make his health invincible, put his range to 5 and his accuracy to really low. And what you do is you just ready up, grab a shotgun and an SMG. AR doesn't really matter for the purposes of right now. And then from here, you just practice peek shots. Now, notice that I have my aim assist off, and I'm kind of still hitting decent amount of headshots. Now, if you can't really do this, you need to adjust your sensitivity so you can do it without aim assist. What you need to do is just constantly do edits like these and just practice your aim. Like, let's say I do this edit and I just hit like this, and I'm trying to do a flick shot and I just completely miss him and my aim is all over the place. You need to lower or raise it depending on what's happening. If you're overshooting, and by overshooting, I mean if I'm going for a flick shot and I go past his head, that's overshooting. You need to lower your sense. Now, if you're here and you can't get to him quick enough, then you need to raise your sense. Now, this is raising your horizontal and vertical at the same time. What you want to do is raise both of them, and then at the end, you want to increase your vertical by 5% or 3%. And now I'm going to turn aim assist back on all the way to 100%. And because he's a sentry, he's going to have aim assist attached to him, so it's going to be easier to hit my shots. Now, what you want to do is just practice this without aim assist, practice it with aim assist, do those things where I was talking about where you trace him the entire time, maybe trace a guy with aim assist and just do it from long range. And then the next thing you want to work on is just SMG spraying. So you come in here and you just SMG spray him, and you move around and you jump around, do some crazy stuff, jump in his box and just jump around in there and just try and get as crazy as possible. That way you get a feel for your aim. Now, once you have all that out the way, we're going to talk about the next step. So the next thing we need to talk about is your look sensitivity, both vertical and horizontal. I recommend having something that doesn't have aim assist, like for example, like an object here, or maybe like a build in the center of a build or something. What you do is you just come here, and if you notice how I'm tracking this, I don't have aim assist really, and I just want to come really close and really far and just track it from a close range. Now, when it comes to building, these sensitivities right here, the build mode and edit mode, have nothing to do with your horizontal and vertical speed. That all has to do by the time you pull out your map and when you actually click the edit button. Your horizontal and vertical look speed is what your gun is when you have your gun out only. And when you take out your switch mode, this is your build mode sensitivity. And then when I'm editing, for example, this is your edit mode sensitivity, how fast your analog sticks move around like this. So in my opinion, I think it's better to have a slower build mode sensitivity. That way you will look more smooth and understand and just gain more awareness about what's happening around you. So it's better to have a smoother build mode sensitivity and a higher edit mode sensitivity, especially when it comes to double edits. It's a lot harder to do if your sensitivity is slow. So if your sensitivity is high, you'll be able to flick up really quick, but in a smooth motion, right? So it looks like this. And that's pretty clean, in my opinion. That's pretty clean. Doesn't need to be razor fast, but it's smooth and clean. So all in all, you kind of understand what those two are. And when you're trying to test them, don't edit anything and just start cranking out builds and see how it goes. See if you can try and get a smooth sense, maybe do some couple side jumps in there. What you want to do is get a smooth build mode sense, and then you go and adjust your edit mode sense. So the way to practice your build mode sense is to actually just build and crank out builds, see what you like, try side jumps and all that, right? So when it comes to your edit mode sense, you want to have that higher. So put it to like 1.9 or 2.0 or 2.1, maybe 2.3, and see how those feel. You have to try out all these sensitivities. That's the only way you're going to be able to find a good one. And the way you find a good one is just how you truly feel on it. When you're playing, do you feel comfortable when your sensitivity is at X, Y, or B, or whatever the case may be? So one of the ways I practice my edit mode sensitivity, and I can justify whether it's too slow or too fast, is that if I'm building, and let's say I do one of these edits right here, a lot of times if I have it on a fast sense, so let's say I raise this to a, I'll go crazy and show you guys, 3.2. So I come here, and if I overshoot like that, you see how I'm like overshooting builds and I can't edit correctly? That's because my sense is way too high. Now, if you look, my builds are hella clean, right? And they're smooth and all that. But the second I get here, it's all over the place. So that's one of the ways you can kind of test to see whether or not your edit mode sensitivity is too slow or too fast. So if it's like this, you can clearly see I have no idea what's going on in my screen. But now if I go and adjust it back to normal, it's a lot smoother and cleaner, and you can really tell that my edits are on point. So quick summary, if some of you guys got lost for that, pretty much your build mode sensitivity, the way to practice that is to actually crank out builds. Find a smooth and clean sense for that. The next step is to go to your edit mode sensitivity. The way you test that is by doing either ramp flips like this, or maybe some of these right here. Also, don't forget to try out some of these cone edits like this. Now, if I'm overshooting, I need to lower my sense. If my sense is too low, that means I'm probably taking forever to get to one tile to the next. I'm just going to show you guys. So if I lower it to 0.09, I'm going to be screwed up because when I try and do crazy edits like this, I'm not going to be able, I'm going to literally miss edits. And it's going to be so hard for me to actually confirm. I'm going to feel like I'm actually straining my hand to try and get this edit off. It's just not working. It's like a rock. It's not moving. So you need to raise your sense in that case. Just because you could do one edit, for example, like a double edit, doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do universal edits, like every type of edits, especially in box fights. So you need to make sure you test out all the edits possible when you're trying out these senses. I would recommend finding a building sensitivity first, then doing editing. Also, big tip, make sure your edit hold time is at the lowest possible. A lot of people have problems where they're getting stuck on the edits and it's taking forever to actually get into the edit. Make sure your edit hold time is really, really low. So the smaller that is, the faster you're going to get into edit mode. Real quick, this look dampening time, if you guys are confused about that, I'm going to demonstrate it to you right now. If I turn this up all the way to the max, the time it takes to reach the expected look rotation speed after applying initial input to the controller's look stick. So that means if I start out slow like this, like let's say I'm standing still, if I come up really quick, you see that initial drag right there? Right there. You see how it's like kind of slow? It's like really kind of holding you back. That's what look dampening does. So when you turn around really quick, it's gonna like dampen and slow down the speed of your sense. That way you can hit your shots. I personally do not like this, so I turn it all the way off completely. Now I know there's a lot of people with boost on, off, up, down, left, right, down the block, back, all that stuff. I personally do not like boosts at all. I recommend to turn them off completely, as do a lot of pros. Even FaZe Sway was mentioning this in one of his YouTube videos about how he doesn't like a boost at all because it throws off his sense. He needs to have a sturdy and same sense for whatever he's doing. The only way I would recommend boost to a player is if they were on Exponential. Now, if you want to find the correct boost, all you have to do is just turn on the boost and test it out for yourself. I wouldn't do any boost over like 20%. That's literally crazy. I would keep it below like 15, no matter what boost you're doing. Especially boosts when it comes to your aiming. I think that these type of boosts are just kind of trash. But I mean, hey, if it works for you, it works for you. So don't go off what I say. If it works for you, then do it. I also want to point out another thing when it comes to aiming. My ADS look horizontal horizontal and look vertical speed are like half below the normal recommended amount. Now, this is all dependent on your sense. You really just got to try it out. Just know that a lot of people have their ADS really, really low because it allows them to be really, really accurate. How else do you think they're really, really accurate on controller? Besides the aim assist thing, it really takes like zero skill to track a player in the air with controller. Because if your sensitivity for your ADS is low, it allows you to just go really fast or really, really, really slow or really fast or really, really. You can pick up and change the way your ADS is, and you can have cracked aim from medium to long range. I promise you that the ADS thing is the least of your worries. It's more so about your advanced look sensitivity, which is the first thing that we changed in the video. If you guys are actually watching this whole video, leave a smiley face in the comment section to let me know that you're actually getting something out of it. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to controller is your dead zones. Every controller's dead zone is different, and I'm not going to be able to give you one that's going to fit all types. So if you guys are looking above my webcam right now, you can see the yellow circle and the tinted light blue circle. You want to cover the yellow with the tinted blue. That pretty much tells you that those dead zones are going to be pretty good for your controller if you could just cover those. Go into creative, stand still, and see if your character is moving without you touching the analog stick. If you move the left analog stick and stop and it keeps moving without you doing anything, then you need to adjust the move stick dead zone. If you move the right analog stick and it moves without you moving when you stopped, then you gotta look at the look stick dead zone and adjust that. It's really not that hard, just make sure you cover the yellow. In my opinion, the very last step that you gotta do is add dead zones once you figure out all your edit and build mode stuff. I have a text chat in my Discord server called PC related questions and Fortnite related questions. If you guys have any sort of topic that you want me to answer, come through on the Discord or come through on my Twitch chat and I will answer your guys' question there. I'm very active and I love to talk to everyone as much as possible. Don't forget that 94% of you are not subscribed to my channel, so if you want to support me further, use my supporter creator code KenBeans, and don't forget to drop a sub and a like on this video. It would be greatly appreciated. All the links to all my socials will be in the description down below, so if you want to come chat for the one time, come through on any one of those social medias and I will answer you guys back. I heart all the comments in the comment section as well. So until next time, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Everyone have a good night and a wonderful rest of your day. Doses. Peace.